Everyone thought he was invisible. The billionaire CEO scrubbed floors in silence, listening as people spoke freely around him. But when one waitress chose kindness instead of cruelty, his entire plan collapsed. Before we continue, take a quiet moment. If stories like this move you, gently like the video. Tell me where you're watching from in the comments. And if you enjoy slow, human stories like this, subscribe and stay. Now, let's go back to the night everything changed. No one noticed him when he walked into the diner that night. That was the point. The mop bucket squeaked as he dragged it across the worn tile floor, the smell of old coffee and bleach mixing in the air. The neon sign outside flickered through the window, casting uneven light across chipped tables and tired faces. He wore a faded blue uniform with a stitched name that wasn't his. Mark. That name belonged to a man who had quit months ago. He had kept it. Ethan Cole had spent his life being seen, recognized, feared, respected, sometimes hated. As the CEO of a multinational logistics empire, he couldn't buy a cup of coffee without someone knowing exactly who he was. Tonight, he wanted none of that. Tonight, he wanted to disappear. He pushed the mop slowly, listening. The booth near the window held two men in pressed suits. They spoke loudly, careless, money talk, deals. They didn't look at him. He was part of the floor now. At the counter, a waitress poured coffee for a woman who kept checking her phone. Her hair was pulled back loosely, strands escaping around her face. She looked tired, but not bitter. That caught his attention. Ethan leaned on the mop handle and studied her reflection in the chrome coffee machine. Her name tag read Lena. A man snapped his fingers at her from a table near the back. "Hey, sweetheart, more cream." She didn't react at first. Then she turned, walked over, and refilled his cup without a word. When he laughed at her, something small tightened in Ethan's chest. He had seen cruelty before, in boardrooms, in headlines. This felt quieter, more personal. Lena returned to the counter and sighed softly, just once, as if releasing something she didn't have time to hold. Ethan looked away, embarrassed by his own attention. He moved toward the restroom hallway, scrubbing at a stain that didn't exist. That was when he heard it. "Don't slip," one of the suited men said, nodding toward Ethan. "Wouldn't want to end up like that." They laughed. Ethan kept his head down. He had expected this. He wanted it, even. Truth came out when people thought no one important was listening. The door chimed. A couple walked in, shaking rain from their coats. Lena greeted them with a smile that looked real. She handed them menus and made a small joke. They laughed. The sound was warm. Ethan felt something unfamiliar. Not attraction, not yet. Curiosity. Later, as the diner thinned out, Lena walked past him carrying a tray of dishes. The tray tilted dangerously as someone bumped into her chair. Plates rattled. Ethan stepped forward without thinking, steadying the tray with one hand. "Careful," he said. She looked up at him, surprised. Her eyes were a soft brown, alert and kind. "Thanks," she said. "That would have been bad." He nodded and stepped back. She hesitated. "You new here?" "Sort of," he said. She smiled. "Well, welcome to the glamorous life." He watched her walk away, the echo of her voice lingering longer than it should. That night, as he cleaned after closing, the manager barked orders from the register. Lena wiped tables quietly. When the manager snapped at Ethan for missing a spot, she stiffened. "He got it," she said, gently but firm. The manager glared. "Did I ask you?" She lowered her eyes. "No." Ethan felt heat rise behind his ribs. He swallowed it down. After the manager left, Lena approached him with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Ethan. "Don't tell," she said. He took it, startled. "Thank you." She leaned against the counter. "He's worse when he's tired." "So are floors," Ethan said. She laughed. A real laugh this time.
They sat in silence for a moment, drinking coffee that tasted burned but comforting. "You don't talk much," she said. "I listen," I replied. "That's rare." He studied his reflection in the coffee, a man hiding in plain sight, a plan built on deception. He wondered when it had stopped feeling clever. "Why are you here?" she asked suddenly. He looked up. "Not here," she clarified. "Here, like this." He considered lying. He was good at it. Instead, he said, "I wanted to see who people are when they think they don't matter." She nodded slowly. "And?" "I'm still looking." She smiled, softer now. "Good luck." As he left that night, rain falling hard against the pavement, Ethan realized something unsettling. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to him without wanting anything, and he wanted to come back.
Ethan came back the next night. He told himself it was part of the plan. Observation required consistency. You couldn't learn people by dropping in once and disappearing. That was the excuse he used as he pulled the same faded uniform from the locker and tied the same stained apron around his waist. But when he pushed open the diner door and heard the familiar chime, his eyes went straight to the counter. Lena was there, pouring coffee, shoulders slightly hunched, hair messier than the night before. She looked up when she heard the door and gave him a small nod. Not a smile, just recognition. Something in his chest loosened. "Hey, Mark," she said. "You survived your first night." "Barely," he replied. She smirked. "That's how you know it's real." The diner filled slowly, same faces, same rhythms. Ethan moved through the motions, mopping, wiping, staying out of the way. He listened more than he worked. Two women near the window complained about their bosses. A man at the counter talked too loudly about how his ex-wife ruined his life. The manager snapped at the cook, who snapped back when he thought no one could hear. And Lena kept moving, calm, steady, kind in ways that didn't cost her anything but still mattered. At one point, an older man dropped his fork. It clattered loudly, drawing annoyed looks from nearby tables. Before anyone could say anything sharp, Lena bent down, picked it up, and replaced it with a clean one. "No rush," she said softly. The man nodded, embarrassed. "Thank you." Ethan watched the exchange carefully. Later, during a lull, he found her in the back hallway, scribbling something on a notepad. "What's that?" he asked. She jumped slightly. "Oh, just numbers." "Math?" "Life," she said. "Same thing." He leaned against the wall, keeping distance. "You always this nice?" She looked up at him, thoughtful. "I try." "Why?" She shrugged. "No one's ever nicer for long when you're not." The answer stayed with him longer than it should have. Near closing time, a woman in a tailored coat walked in, heels sharp against the tile. She scanned the room with practiced judgment before sitting at a booth. Lena approached with menus. The woman barely looked up. "Water, no ice." Lena nodded. "Of course." When she returned with the glass, the woman frowned. "This table's sticky." "I'll clean it." She reached for a cloth. The woman sighed dramatically. "Unbelievable. Do you people train at all?" Ethan froze mid-step. Lena wiped the table carefully. "There you go." The woman glanced up, eyes briefly flicking to Ethan. "And you," she said, waving a hand, "can you not stand there? It's distracting." Ethan stepped back without a word. The woman smirked and turned away. When she left, she didn't tip. Lena picked up the receipt, stared at it for a moment, then folded it and slid it into her pocket without comment. Ethan followed her to the dish station. "She was rude," he said quietly. She shrugged. "She was having a bad night." "That doesn't excuse it." "No, but it explains it." He looked at her. "Doesn't it ever get to you?" She rinsed a plate slowly. "Of course it does." "Then why keep doing this?" She met his eyes. because if I stop being me, then they win twice. Ethan had spent years watching people justify cruelty with success, watching them excuse it as efficiency, as realism, as the cost of doing business. He had never heard it framed like that. After closing, as they wiped down the counter together, Lena glanced at him. "You don't talk about yourself." "There's not much to say." "I don't believe that." He smiled faintly. "What do you think there is to say?" She thought for a moment. "You look like someone who chose this." He stiffened. "Chose what?" "Being invisible," she said. "That's not something people fall into by accident." Ethan didn't answer. She didn't push. As they locked up, rain started again, heavy and cold. Lena pulled her jacket tighter. "You walking?" she asked. "Yes." She hesitated. "I usually am too. Different direction, though." "That's okay." They stood awkwardly for a moment under the flickering streetlight. "See you tomorrow, Mock," she said. "See you." As Ethan walked home, shoes soaked, city lights blurring through rain, he realized the plan was unraveling. He wasn't just observing anymore. He was caring. And caring, he knew, was dangerous. Because Lena didn't know who he was. And if she did, everything would change.
Ethan started coming earlier, not because the floors needed extra mopping or the trash needed more attention, but because he wanted to see the diner wake up. The quiet before the noise. The moment when people were still themselves, not yet sharpened by the day. Lena was always there before everyone else. She sat at the counter with a mug of coffee she never finished, reading from a small, worn notebook. Sometimes she wrote. Sometimes she just stared at the page like the words were hiding from her. One morning he asked, "What are you working on?" She closed the notebook quickly. "Nothing important." That usually means something important. She smiled, tired but genuine. "Just thoughts, things I don't want to forget." "Like what?" She hesitated. "Like how it feels to be treated well, and how it feels when you're not." Ethan nodded slowly. He understood that instinct more than he wanted to admit. That same day, a man in an expensive coat came in with two colleagues, loud, confident, the kind of man Ethan had sat across from in boardrooms 1,000 times. The man snapped his fingers to get Lena's attention. "Sweetheart," he said, "we've been waiting." Lena approached calmly. "I'll be right with you." He scoffed. "You should already be with us. That's your job." The word hung in the air. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. Lena didn't react. She took their order. She didn't rush. She didn't apologize. When she walked away, the man laughed. Unbelievable. Some people really should know their place. Ethan dropped his mop. The sound echoed louder than it should have. The man turned. "Watch it." Ethan met his eyes. He didn't glare. He didn't smile. He just looked. The man shifted uncomfortably, then turned back to his table. Later in the back, Lena said quietly, "You didn't have to do that." "I didn't do anything." She shook her head. "You did, and thank you." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay on his couch, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how easily power revealed itself, how casually people used it, how blind they were to the damage it caused. He had been one of them. 3 nights later, something changed. A group of women came in after a fundraiser, dresses expensive, voices sharp. They filled the diner with perfume and impatience. One of them noticed Ethan cleaning near their booth. "Is that mop even clean?" she asked loudly. Another laughed. "Does it matter? Look at him." Lena stiffened. "Please don't talk to him like that." The first woman raised an eyebrow. "Or what?" Lena stood her ground. "Or I'll ask you to leave." The table went silent. The woman smiled coldly. "You can't afford to ask us to leave." Ethan stepped forward. "Actually, she can." All eyes turned to him. The woman laughed. "And who are you supposed to be?" Ethan paused. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, to retreat, to keep the illusion intact. But he thought of Lena, of the notebook, of the way she swallowed cruelty like it was routine. "I'm someone who doesn't like bullies," he said. The woman stood. "You should watch your tone." Lena said, steady and clear, "You can leave now." The women stared at her, shocked, then scoffed and walked out, heels striking the floor like punctuation marks. The diner exhaled. In the back, Lena's hands were shaking. "You okay?" Ethan asked. She nodded, then laughed softly. "I will be. You shouldn't have to deal with that." She looked at him. "You think they talk like that because they're strong?" He didn't answer. "They talk like that because they're afraid," she continued. "Afraid someone will see who they really are." Ethan swallowed. Later that week, he overheard the manager complaining on the phone. "She's good, but she's trouble. Talks back, makes scenes." Ethan's jaw tightened. That night, Lena seemed quieter. "Something wrong?" Ethan asked. She hesitated. "They might cut my hours." "For what?" "For not being pleasant enough." Ethan stared at the floor. He could end this. One call, one name. But he didn't, because he was afraid. Afraid that the moment she knew, the man she trusted would disappear, replaced by everything she hated. The next day, Ethan came in to find Lena crying in the storage room. "They let me go," she said, voice breaking. "Said I wasn't a good fit." Rage burned through him, sharp and immediate. "That's not fair." She wiped her face. "Fair doesn't pay rent." He wanted to tell her everything, who he was, what he could do. Instead, he said, "You won't be alone." She looked at him. "How can you promise that?" He met her eyes. "Because I won't let you be." She searched his face, then nodded slowly. That night, Ethan made a decision. The test was over. But the truth, he knew, would hurt more than the lie ever did.
Ethan didn't sleep. He sat at his kitchen table with a mug of cold coffee, the city glowing faintly through the window. For months, he had worn the disguise easily, the quiet, the invisibility. It had felt like relief. Now, it felt like cowardice. By morning, the truth pressed so hard against his chest, it hurt to breathe. He found Lena sitting on the front steps of her apartment building, jacket pulled tight, a cardboard box at her feet. Inside were notebooks, a framed photo of her mother, a chipped mug with faded writing. "You're up early," she said without looking at him. "I didn't sleep." "Me neither." They sat in silence while traffic passed, people moving through their lives without noticing the two of them frozen in place. "What are you going to do?" Ethan asked. She shrugged. "Find another job. Maybe two. I've done worse." He nodded, then said quietly, "Come with me." She frowned. "Where?" "Just trust me." She studied his face. Something in his expression must have shifted, because after a long moment she picked up the box and stood. They took the bus across town, then another. Finally, they stopped in front of a tall glass building that reflected the sky like it was trying to own it. Lena stared up at it. "Why are we here?" Ethan took a breath. "Because I owe you the truth." Inside, the lobby was quiet and polished. Security nodded at Ethan without hesitation. Lena slowed. "They know you." "Yes." Her eyes narrowed. "Ethan, who are you?" He turned to her. "My name is Ethan Hale. I'm the CEO of Hale Industries." The words landed heavily between them. She laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "No, don't do that." "I'm not joking." Her smile faded. "You lied to me." "Yes." She stepped back like he'd reached out to strike her. "So this was a game? Some experiment?" "No." "Then what was it?" Ethan's voice was steady, but his hand shook. I wanted to know who people were when they thought I was nothing. Her eyes filled, anger and hurt mixing into something raw. And what did you learn? That I was one of them before I met you. She looked away. You could have fixed everything, the way they treated me, the way they fired me. I know. And you didn't, because I was afraid you'd never look at me the same way again. She laughed bitterly. Congratulations, you were right. They stood there, surrounded by money and silence. I'm sorry, he said. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. Yes. A woman approached, careful. Mr. Hale, the board is waiting. Yes, give me 5 minutes. The woman glanced at Lena, then left. Ethan turned back. You don't have to stay. You don't owe me anything, but I wanted you to hear it from me, not from headlines. Lena hugged the box tighter. You don't get to decide how much this hurts. I know. She walked toward the door, then stopped. You know what hurts the most? She said quietly. Not that you're rich, not that you lied. It's that you saw what they did to me and waited. He swallowed. I'm trying to make it right. She faced him. You don't make things right with money. You make them right with action. He nodded slowly. Then start acting like the man I thought you were. She left. That afternoon, Hale Industries made an announcement. No press release, no cameras. The company would be restructuring its service contracts, living wage guarantees, anti-harassment policies with real consequences, independent oversight. Managers who abused staff were dismissed quietly. The diner chain that fired Lena lost its contract by the end of the week. Ethan didn't call her, didn't text. He let the silence exist. 3 weeks later, he found her notebook in his mailbox. Inside was a single page. You don't get forgiveness just because you did the right thing late, but you don't lose the chance to become better. No signature. Ethan held the page for a long time. That night, he went back to the diner, not as a janitor, not as a CEO, just as a man.
The diner hadn't changed. Same cracked vinyl seats, same humming lights, same smell of burnt coffee and fried onions that clung to your clothes long after you left. But Ethan had. He sat alone at the counter, hands folded, posture careful, not hiding, not announcing himself, just waiting. The waitress poured coffee without looking at him. Refill? Yes, please. She glanced up, recognition flickering. Not awe, not fear, just curiosity. You're the guy from the news, she said. I am, Ethan replied. She shrugged. Coffee's still the same price. Good. He waited. Minutes passed, then more. The door opened, a bell chiming softly. Lena stepped inside. She froze when she saw him. For a moment, she considered turning around. He could see it in the way her shoulders tightened, the way her grip on the door handle lingered. Then she walked in, not toward him, toward a booth near the window. She sat, opened her notebook, pretended he wasn't there. Ethan didn't move. When the waitress came back, he paid his bill, left a modest tip, and stood. He walked past Lena's booth slowly and stopped. I'm not here to ask for anything, he said quietly. She didn't look up. Then why are you here? To listen, if you want to talk. Silence. Then she closed the notebook. You know, she said, eyes still down, I kept wondering if any of it was real. It was, he said immediately, every part of it. She finally looked at him. Except you. He didn't flinch. Except me. She studied his face like she was searching for the janitor again, the man who wiped counters and held doors and never raised his voice. You ruined something, not just between us, inside me. I know. You made me doubt my instincts. I know. You don't get to fix that. I know, he said again. but I can sit with it." She blinked, surprised by the answer. "You can sit with it?" she repeated. "Yes." She scoffed softly. "That's new." He managed a faint smile. "I'm learning." The waitress returned. "You want anything?" Lena shook her head. "No." Ethan hesitated, then said, "Can I buy her coffee?" The waitress raised an eyebrow at Lena. After a beat, Lena nodded. "Fine." Ethan sat across from her, keeping distance, respecting the space. They didn't speak for a while. Outside, rain started to fall, blurring the streetlights into long streaks of gold. "You didn't have to destroy that contract," he replied. "I did, not for you, for everyone who couldn't afford to speak." She tapped her pen against the table. "You know that doesn't erase what happened. I don't want it to." "Why?" "Because erasing it would mean pretending it didn't matter." She considered that. "I'm still angry," she said. "You should be." "I don't trust you." "I wouldn't either." She laughed once, sharp but tired. "You're not very good at defending yourself." "I'm not trying to." Another silence. Then she said, "I got a new job." "That's good." "Community center, teaching writing classes." Ethan nodded. "They're lucky." She watched him carefully. "You didn't arrange that." "No." "Good." She sipped her coffee. "I don't hate you, Ethan." His chest tightened. "But I don't forgive you." "I understand." She leaned back. "So now what?" He answered honestly. "Now I go back to my life, and you go back to yours. And if our paths cross again, it'll be without lies." She studied him, really studied him, like she was deciding to close a door or leave it unlocked. "You know," she said slowly, "if you had told me the truth on day one, I would have walked away." "I know. And if you'd used your power to protect people sooner, I might have respected you." "I know." She sighed. "You did it backwards." "Yes." She stood, slipping the notebook into her bag. "But you're doing it now," she added, "and that counts for something." He stood too. "It does?" "For the world," she said, "not for us." He nodded. "That's fair." She paused, then reached into her bag and handed him a folded page. "For your notebook," she said. He unfolded it later, alone. It read, "Some people use masks to hide who they are. Others use them to learn who they've been. The difference is what you do once the mask comes off." Months passed. Ethan stopped pretending to be invisible. He also stopped pretending that money made him complete. He listened more, spoke less, changed policies quietly. Lena taught, wrote, lived. They didn't become a fairy tale. They became something better. Two people who saw each other clearly and chose honesty over comfort. That was enough. Thank you for staying with this story until the end.